Welcome, welcome. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Happy Tuesday. Nice to have you guys here. We're going live. If you see this, we're actually going live on Facebook at Cruz Realtor. We're also going live on YouTube as well. And we're going to be going live on LinkedIn as well. So happy to be here with you guys. And today we got a very special guest. We're going to be talking about solar panels, and that's some of the questions that come up very often nowadays. It's when you're purchasing a home or when you're about to sell a home, how does the solar panels either help through the transaction? It helps improve the value of the home, or how does it maybe create a little bit more hassle? So we're going to be talking about some of the things with solar panels, and for that we have our guest, Craig Bloom with Power Energy Solar. How are you, Craig?
I'm well. Thank you, Carlos. Pleasure to meet with you, and honored to be on the show.
Well, I'm super happy that you were able to make it, because I could have done this without you, right? You're the pro here, and hopefully you can give us lots of good information about the solar panels, how it works, and what you see on the industry. Because I know we spoke maybe a few weeks back, and we had a pretty good conversation about the solar panels and some of the benefits that it can provide to the home values, home appreciation as well. I did share with you some of my concerns maybe with solar panels when dealing with a transaction. So hopefully we can maybe clarify some of the points. And I know people have a lot of questions about if solar panels are a good investment. So we'll talk about this. So again, welcome, Craig. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living? I know you sell solar panels, but if you want to provide a little bit more details on that.
Little background. Yeah, absolutely, Carlos. So listen, my name is Craig Bloom. I'm representing Power Energy. And so what my task is, I'm leading the national expansion for the fastest growing residential solar company in the United States today. Power created a technology app, for residential solar, just like Uber did for the taxi industry. And if you look at this, I mean, it's where everything is going today, whether it's, you're talking Netflix for videos or Amazon for package delivery. So Power created this technology app, and it's revolutionizing the game. So that's what we do. Our corporate's based in California, but the company operates in 22 states around the country, including Hawaii and New York, which are opening up in the next couple of weeks. Just opened up Puerto Rico recently as well.
Nice. And I know that you include Texas as well, right? Which is where I'm located.
Of course, absolutely. Okay. Yes, Texas and that's your neighbors great. As well. All around you there, right. Carlos.
Awesome. All right, Craig, well, tell us a little bit what you see on the industry, as far as where we're heading. Okay, I know more and more, I drive around, I'm showing homes, to potential buyers. And I'm actually going to a listing appointment this coming weekend. And the owner of this property has solar panels as well. So we're going to be, nice. For sure, we're going to be talking about those things with the seller and the owner. But where do you see all this heading? I mean, I see more and more roofs with solar panels. I see more and more Tesla cars, electric cars, and people, the demand for the batteries as well on the garages. I have a tenant client that's wanting to install. He's leasing a house, and he's wanting to install or he was going to be asking for permission from the owner if they will let him install a battery there for the Tesla as well. So, I mean, these topics come more often. So what do you see from your side?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, great question. So I mean, why solar? Why now? Really? I mean, that's kind of the question, right? Because solar has been out. It's been out for a couple of decades. The market saturation is only about 4% right now, but it's just like anything else. I mean, when flat screens first came out, Carlos, they were really expensive. Now you can walk through Walmart and pick up a 60, 70 inch for, I don't know, $100, right? So the cost of solar has actually come down. And basically what's happening now is it's getting ready to go viral, because the cost of solar is about the same cost of what you're paying now for utilities, or slightly under. And if you take a look at what's going on in our country right now, the cost of energy is just skyrocketing all over the country. And so a couple of things in play here. So number one, where's the government spending their money? Where's the incentives? So the incentives are huge for solar right now. The government just signed a new clean energy bill about 90 days ago. It's locked in the federal tax credit across the country for everyone in the United States, a 30% federal tax credit through the year 2032. So that's now locked into law for the next 9 years. Previously, before the government signed this bill, it was only 26% last year, was dropping down to 22 this year, and then was going to go away. So when they re-signed the bill, they upped it to 30%. They extended it out, 10 years to the year 2032. So that in itself is a huge incentive. So the homeowner does get 30% back, on the solar system. So, I mean, you buy your house, right? You need to the homeowner comes up with a deposit. When you buy solar, the government gives you the deposit, gives you that 30% deposit back, right? So each state has different nuances, if you will. Maryland's a terrific state. Texas is a great state to go solar. So you have that 30% federal tax credit. Sometimes there's grants. The counties will give out incentives. So in Maryland, for instance, it's over about a 50% reduction in the investment just in incentives. So wow. That's one thing, right? Yeah, the government's incenting the folks. You look at you mentioned it already, the electric vehicles. Every major manufacturer has come out with electric vehicle, not just one but multiple ones. That's where the world's going, right? So you combine the government incentives with the electric vehicles, and then the skyrocketing energy costs all over the country. So it's just this perfect storm that's finally, come into play. And it just makes sense. I mean, statistically, Carlos, they're saying 1 in every 5 homes is going solar within the next 5 years. So it's going to be in the trillions, so it's coming hot and heavy. And solar is the cheapest form of electricity, of cheapest form of energy today. We mask the sun. So that I guess for that in itself, that's kind of what's kind of set up this perfect storm. So you see it, you drive into the neighborhood, you see more and more of it going up. And so the homeowners are discovering that, listen, right now our country, and I guess let me back up for a minute. Our parents, my parents, yours, a lot of the folks listening to us on this call, they never had an opportunity like exists today. In other words, we bought our cars and we bought our homes, but they chose to rent their electricity, right? So there is a better way. And so the homeowners listening right now, they're locked into a lifelong lease with a utility company. They have no control over the increasing cost they're going to force you to pay. You have no ability to pay it off and stop the bleeding. You'll pay for the rest of your lives. Solar has an end date. Right. So even if you come on board, there's something we call a bill swap, if you will. In other words, if what you're spending for power now, if we can put a solar system on your rooftop for at or about the same investment that you have now, that investment will stay the same. It will never increase. And when it's paid off, you produce power for free for the rest of your lives. So that's the carrot. Conversely, if you look at what you'll spend now for the next 25 years or 50 years, however long it's going to be, because you never pay off the utility, company that you have now. So that's really what's going on. I mean, it's readily available. The cost has come down to the point where it totally makes sense. I mean, why would someone not want to do that? If it's the same cost, it just doesn't. It doesn't stack up for me, right? So that's what's going on. That's why. That's some of the reasons why. Great questions. Thank you.
All right. So it does make a lot of sense, right? Like you mentioned, it does have an end date. So that as soon as you pay it off, then you're free from the bill, right? And
right.
The question here, or I guess the concern from some people, is that sometimes, I mean, you have solar panels, but you still have to pay a fee, or you still have to consume electricity in some occasions, right? I mean, I know Texas is pretty much always, sunny, hopefully, most of the time, and hot. But, I know there times when the solar panels are actually not producing any energy. So the homeowner will actually have to tap back into the electricity provider, correct?
Yeah, let me explain to you how that works. I mean, and so in a sheer simple way to look at this, what we ask, the homeowner shares a copy of the utility bill with us. And the second page of the utility bill will give us what the homeowner has consumed the last 12 to 13 months. In other words, what their home is consuming for power. So every home is different. It depends on how they're consuming, that power. We take a look at that utility bill. And then basically what I'm trying to do is put a system up on top of the roof to offset 100% of their usage. The only things I can't do, Carlos, is I can't move the house to position it perfectly to benefit most from the sun. Right. Mm-hmm. So if the home is facing, a southerly facing roof, it's going to produce the most amount of power. It goes south, then it's west, then it's east, then it's north being the least. So sometimes if I have, a house, let's say it's positioned perfectly, it's facing south, and I have enough roof space up there to install those panels, because sometimes the roofs have, pitches and hips and whatnot. We can't quite get panels on that. But assuming all those things, that we've got enough roof space to do that, we may put, let's say, for example, 30 panels on a southerly facing, roof to produce enough power for the home. If the home is not facing south and maybe it's facing east-west, it may require 40, 45 panels to produce the same amount of power that a southerly facing roof did. So each time it's a custom design. There's no, here's the exact cookie cutter for everybody in every home. Just doesn't exist. So that's really what we do, is we customize them for the home, but so that's how it works. And so you'll produce power. Most of the homes, if we're able to offset 100% of the usage, in the summer months, you're going to produce more power typically than the home is consuming. So for example, let's say June, July, August, right? So the home produces its solar energy. The home consumes the power that the solar panels are making, and the extra power that you produce is then pushed out to the network or to the grid, and your meter goes backwards. Okay, so basically during
these months, actually selling back. You're
selling back to the utility company. You're banking energy, if you will, Carlos, and you're developing credits. So and perhaps in the winter months when the days are shorter, there's not as much sunlight, and maybe you're consuming more power in the winter months, with your heating, air conditioning, that type of a system. You may end up buying some power back in the evenings from the utility company. But at that point, you're buying with credits that you've already gained from the earlier summer months. So then what will happen is there's something called a true up. In other words, every April, the state's going to come back to you and say, "Hey, Carlos, you sent us 15 kilowatts worth of power, and you've only bought back 10. So we owe you a credit of 5 starting for the next season." So from April on, the homeowner may have a zeroed out bill for 3 or 4 months. Until, maybe it's even longer than that, right? And so everyone's kind of different, but that's how this works, so it's called a net one-to-one metering. So the same cost that you buy power from, when you sell back to the utility company, they buy it back at the same rate. Okay, so that's across the country. Now, California has just had a hiccup. So California just passed a new law called NEM 3.0. And the utility companies are fighting back. I mean, the end is near, right? I don't know if it's quite like a Kodak film situation, but the utility companies need to differentiate themselves, need to figure out a different way to earn money, because they're no longer going to be able to work with the fossil fuels. And so what California just did recently was, you buy back, let's just make an easy example. You buy a unit of power back from them for $1. When you go to sell it back, they only give you 25 cents. So across the country, it's 1-to-1, but California's no. So this was kind of a nasty little bill. It goes in April the 15th. They tried doing something similar to that in Phoenix. Just a couple of years ago. There was so much of an uproar about it, was reversed. We also caught wind of them trying to do something similar to that in Florida, and that bill was killed. Didn't come to fruition. So That's kind of what's happening, I guess, in your neighboring state there over in California.
Wow. And there's definitely a lot of people moving from California to Texas. So, I mean, it's for the better, I think. All right. So that's awesome, Craig. I mean, I'm learning so much. I mean, these are things that we hear about, but nobody has really taken, at least with me, nobody has really taken the time to really explain everything. And one of the certifications I do have, it's a green certification. But it touches up on, you know, solar panels and other energy efficient features of a home, but it doesn't really go into it goes more into the how to make your home green, basically, like certified green. But he does explain about solar panels, but it doesn't go into that, you know, the type of questions that I have. So, all right. So, well, let's get into some of the questions that are typical questions, I think. So let's start with this one. What is the expected lifetime of the panels? I mean, sometimes, you know, I hear stories that, okay, some people, well, I was actually talking to a builder, and the builder said, before you install solar panels, make sure that you check with the builder and the warranty, because they were saying, well, by installing solar panels, it's going to waive the warranty. You know, with the normally builders provide, I never heard that before, but normally they do provide a 10-year warranty, structural warranty, which covers, you know, like the foundation and the framing and things like that. And I think by installing solar panels, he did mention that that he might waive the warranty for that. But then I hear other people saying that solar panels actually, you know, help you protect the roof against hail, right? Because then now the hail is hitting the solar panels. Are these solar panels really capable of holding like hail? Because I know the roof, the shingles, composite shingles, they will get damaged with hail. But how does the solar panels can hold and or last? What's the life
yeah, great questions,
of
Carlos. Great questions. Yeah. I mean, so number one, just to get this out of the the way here, we've got solar all over Colorado, and you know, obviously Colorado, hail the size of footballs or softballs coming down, it doesn't affect the panels. So ironically, that's, you know, it's a good thing. I think let me kind of switch gears to going back to the home that you were talking about. So oftentimes when we're installing panels, we're installing them on a roof, right? And so if the homeowner, you know, has a roof that works, that's where we're going to install them. If they don't, you know, have a roof, or the roof's not in good condition, we can sometimes, if they have enough property, do a ground mount. So you have a system out, you know, in the yard. And when it's in the yard, you can face it perfectly south, and really maximize the power that way. But let me explain to you, you know, a couple of things. So number one, when we install a system, you know, Power is the general contractor in 22 states around the country. So when we install a system for a homeowner, we control it from A to Z. And so a couple of things that typically come into play is, number one, we're going to install on the roof. So what's the condition of the roof? Does the roof need to be replaced? Right. Mm-hmm. And so often I'll get that question, go, well, gee, we just bought a brand new roof, Craig. It's a 30-year, you know, roof. We got the warranty on it. They say if you punch holes on the roof, you're going to kill my warranty. Well, I called Owning and Corning, or excuse me, Corning. Yeah. Owning and Corning about that specifically. They said, no, Craig, that's not valid. We would back your warranty. But when we install our systems, we include a 30-year warranty for the homeowner. It's exclusive to Power. No other solar company in the world is offering that, you know, such an exclusive of warranty right now. And it's 30 years of both labor and hardware. So if anything should go wrong for the homeowner, they've got peace of mind that it's not going to cost them a dime. It's going to be repaired. It even covers the nails that go on the roof if there was a leak, Carlos. So that's the type of warranty that we add to the table. It's backed by the largest insurance company in the world. You know, so Power, you know, made great steps here. If for some reason, thank you. If for some reason, you know, Power were to go out of business, the warranty remains in effect for the homeowner. You know, so that's kind of some of the things that have happened, I guess, in ensuing years or previous years in the industry. You know, we fixed that. and that's what's really making power so remarkable today in terms of what we offer. So we have a conversation with the homeowner again about the roof. What's the condition of that roof? If it needs a new roof, Power can actually sell a new roof. And the beauty to the homeowners that are listening is if they need a new roof to go solar, they can double dip with the 30% federal tax credit. They'll be able to get that 30% tax credit on the roof as well as the solar system if they're replacing the roof to go solar. If they're just replacing the roof and they have no intention of going solar, then they can't take the 30% federal tax credit, right? But just so that you know, right, exactly. But just so you know, I mean, that's a really, you can double dip. So we'll ask that question. I typically ask the homeowner, are they planning on adding electric vehicle anytime soon? Because if they are, we're going to charge that smart car with their smart home, right? And we'll put a charging station on there for them. And I typically ask a question, are they going to be adding a hot tub or a pool or something that's going to change their electric requirements? Because then I'll build the system to make sure that we produce enough power to offset and cover that for them. So that's kind of how this thing works, right? I mean, so we ask some questions, we customize the power plant for the homeowner. The warranty is again, this 30-year warranty that you have showing here. It's an industry exclusive, a differentiator for Power. And so, yeah, I think we got it.
So okay. So what I hear from you is that I mean, since it's warranty for 30 years, I know a roof in Texas will not last 30 years. I know that much, right? They make them to last 30 years, but in Texas they will not really last 30 years, right? We have the hail and with high winds and all that. Maybe 10 years. That's kind of what I'm seeing. 10 to 15 years. You have to replace a roof, if not sooner. So by having the solar panels, would you say that is kind of helping protecting the roof as well? We know the roof is not going to last 30 years. We know that, but the solar panels will. So I guess by having more solar panels will kind of help offset the
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, where the solar panels are covering the roof, the shingles beneath that are going to last longer. Yeah. So I mean, that's absolutely right. And so again, we're going to put our system up there. I get a question. Well, Craig, how often do they last? I mean, I typically say, the average panel, you're going to get 50 years out of the panel. You've got a 30-year warranty. It's no different than, you buy a car and it comes with a 100,000 mile, warranty, right? So a lot of folks will still keep their car beyond that 100,000, mile warranty.
Right.
And when they do, then they just pay for maintenance themselves after the fact. And that's the way this goes. But I mean, the panels have continued to get better over the years. The panels that we're installing today are 400 watt, 405 watt panels. They only used to be 250s, that type of thing. So as they become more and more efficient, we're able to put less panels up there, produce more power with that. The other thing is, I commonly hear, well, gee, if I put panels on my roof, how long is the power going to last? Is there a degradation of the panels over the years? And so one of Power only reps the top equipment in the world. And that's kind of what our platform has allowed us to do. But the 2 panels or 3 panels that I'm repping today are the top panels in the world, one of which is REC. Another is Henwa Q-Cell, which comes out of Georgia. And the third is Canadian Pro. So the RECs, for instance, over 25 years have the lowest degradation in the industry. The REC is typically probably the top panel in the world today, and we rep those for our customers. But the REC will lose approximately 8% over 25 years in its productivity. So 25 years later, they're still producing at a full 92%, of the full power. And what will happen over the next 25 years, Carlos, as homeowners update their appliances in the home, whether that's their washer and dryer, their dishwasher, their microwaves, whatever, they're going to be more and more and more efficient as these appliances then come out. So that will shake out, and the homeowner will be perfect as they work into the system.
I was actually just about to ask a question, Craig, because I mean, you look at a phone, right, and the batteries don't last as after a few years it doesn't last as long as it used to at the beginning, right? And I think it's it's made on purpose, maybe by Apple or these cell phone manufacturers, but just to kind of keep you always changing your phones. But that's something that I have noticed that after a while my phone doesn't charge as good as it used to. So I had the same question about solar panels. You just answered that. So thank you for that. All right, let's go to the next question. What is the maintenance required for the solar panels? I mean, let's say I install solar panels right now. What's expected next? I mean, what's next? Am I expected to have you guys come over, every couple of years, or me having to call you and say, hey, Craig, I don't know, some kind of maintenance required? Is there's nothing required?
So great question. Great question. I love it. I get that question all the time too. So what maintenance do I have to do? And do they make noise? That type of thing. So the answer is no, they're silent. Basically, they lay in the sun, bask in the sun all day long, and just flat out produce power for you. There's no moving parts. So there's very little to go wrong. Not that it can't not go wrong, but for the most part, it typically doesn't, right? If a panel should start to have a hiccup or not produce, or one of the inverters perhaps not start working, we'll pick that up. We'll actually let the homeowner know. Most times the homeowner won't have a clue, won't understand, or know what's going on. And so our monitoring system will pick it up. We'll reach out to the homeowner and go, by the way, we're going to be out tomorrow and fix the panel. What? Didn't even know. Yeah. So what's really, really neat is when you do go with solar, you have an app, and the app is called My Power. And you can see in real time exactly what your home is producing. So if the got some listeners out there that are techies, they'll pull up their iPhones or whatever device they have, and they'll study that for the first couple of months because it's new and it's really, really neat. Be out at dinner, go, man, look at my house is producing, right? And show me their phone. Mm-hmm. So that's it's just kind of neat. But maintenance wise, there's really nothing. I mean, so Texas doesn't have a whole lot of snow, so you don't have to worry about snow covering your panels. I mean, once in a while, if it does, it melts off, rather quickly. If you I don't know, if you typically, you're not going to have them installed under trees or things like that, and if you were, it's not going to be by power, that's for sure, installing in that situation. Mm-hmm. But if I don't know, like if a lot of bird stuff were to end up on the panels, you may want to eventually wash them off, but a good solid rain can do that in itself. So there's not a whole lot out there, Carlos. I mean, how do we ever wash them? Do we need to, clean them off or get the dust off? I guess if we were over closer to the desert and there was just dust blowing up constantly, and maybe we would need to, get up, every other year and put a squeegee on them and just get them clean. But typically a hard driving rain will do that for us. So no, there's not a whole lot out there.
And I know you have talked about this in the past, and I know you're a numbers guy. So what percentage of homes would you say are not good candidates for solar panels? I know, I know you're looking at you talked a little bit about, the pitches and the roof type and, the direction that it's facing. But right, like on average, not every homeowner is going to be a good candidate for solar panels, right? And you will be telling them, okay, yeah, it's better for you not to even try to do something like this, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. I mean, so be perfectly honest, there's a software that we use. It's called Google Project Sunroof, and the homeowner can actually, through Google Project Sunroof, put your address in the system, and you'll see your house. It'll come up just like Google Earth will, and it'll show if the house will qualify well for solar. The roof's going to look gold. And you'll know instantly. So a lot of times that's what I do. Have homeowners come by and see me at trade shows. We first run their home through the sunroof to see if it's, if it qualifies. And if it does, then we go down the road and have the conversation with the homeowner. The statistics are this: there's 130 million homes in America. right? And that number is constant. It stays constant because there's new homes being built, others, coming down. So roughly 130 million in America. Of the 130 million, 90 million qualify for solar. So there's 40 million, Carlos, that don't. My home, unfortunately, is one of those 40 million. But it's just not facing the right direction. I face north, and so I can't produce enough power to offset my bill. And so what will happen is, like I said, I can't move the house to position it perfectly if they're covered by trees. That typically sometimes the homeowner can have the trees trimmed or have the trees removed, but often once in a while I'll get a hey Craig, I want to go solar, and I look up the homeowner's home, and all I see is trees. Well, where's the house? We're down in there, Craig. We're down. So that one certainly wouldn't qualify for solar, that type of thing. So, and the other kind of, and it's not as much, but when you're dealing with the rooftop. So if the homeowner has slate on their roof, we typically can't install solar on slate. Although there are some folks that are actually coming up with racking systems that will do that for you. But about 95% of all the rooftops we can do, flat roofs, metal roofs, concrete roofs, asphalt shingle is the most common. So there's plenty of opportunity out there. So of the 90 million homes that qualify, Carlos, there's only about 4 million that have solar right now. So there's 86 million homes that are virtually untapped. And so that's why we're seeing within the next 5 years, 1 in every 3 homes is going solar. It's going to be 35 million homes. It'll be in the trillions of dollars in terms of the energy and the amount of investment that's circling through for that.
So there's so many homes without solar panels, so much opportunity there. But then you also said that the cost of solar panels is coming down for sure, and I know that.
Yes.
I know they're less expensive than what they used to be. But let's talk about financing options. Okay.
Sure.
What are some of the typical costs? I know it's kind of hard to say, but I just spoke to a client of mine. She told me she paid about $30,000 for the solar panels. I have no idea how many solar panels she installed or how much electricity it's producing. Like, I don't have all the details. I don't know. I'm meeting with her this weekend, but I know she did pay about $30,000. So she's got a loan for that. But what are some of the financing options available, and what are some of the typical costs that you see most common people paying? Your typical owner that just wants to, produce enough energy to, pay for the electricity that they consume. I'm not talking about those guys that maybe they want battery backup, for the Tesla cars and have all these fancy toys to play with. Just your typical consumer. What are some of the numbers that you typically see? Just want to give the viewers an idea of what more or less what to expect, and what type of financing options do they have?
Well, thank you. I appreciate how you frame that. So let me just kind of talk in some generalities here, because it's difficult to give you a cost for a system, because it's based on what the homeowner, what their personal consumption is. It's based on how the house faces. There's so many different factors that go into that. So there's typically 4 different ways that you can acquire a system. The first and the cheapest, least expensive way to acquire would be a straight purchase. So the homeowner would acquire their system, they would invest in it, they would instantly produce power for free. And then, it depends on, again, what those numbers are as to how quickly, they'll cost justify that investment. On average, an average homeowner, will pay their system off or pay their investment within the first 6 to 7 years. So that's approximately what it costs, to do that. So you can do a straight purchase. Now, prior to the interest rates going crazy like they have recently, right? We were doing about 5% of the time was a purchase. About 95% of the time were monthly payments, similar to a mortgage. Today, after the rates have gone a little crazy, we're now doing about 25% of the time straight purchase, 75% of the time monthly payments. This kind of shifted with the interest rates. So typically that's what we do. The homeowner is going to own their system on their roof, or in their backyard if it's a ground mount. They will own the system that'll produce power for free, and so that's kind of how that shakes out. But So if you do a straight purchase, you do a monthly payment. Now, the 30% federal tax credit. So it's important to point this out, because if the homeowner does no longer has a tax appetite, in other words, they're not paying the government, the feds anymore, because they're working. So let's say it's an older couple, they're on a fixed income now. They're not working anymore. They're still paying taxes, but not paying to the extent that perhaps you and I are. So you have to, make sure, be upfront that they understand when they're going to get this 30% federal tax credit. If they're not paying to taxes, they're not going to be able to qualify for that, right? And so that's really important. Most folks will be able to qualify. And let's go back for a minute. Let's say the federal tax credit is $15,000 for a $50,000 home solar system, which 15,000 is exactly 30% of the 50. And so let's say, I don't know, you and I only paid $10,000 to the feds this year. So when I inquire, I go with my solar system this year. At the end of the year, when I do my taxes, I fill out a form. It's a single page. That form is $56.95, and I put on that form, what was the cost of my solar system? The government gives you exactly 30% back to the penny. And that check is mailed to the homeowner. And if the homeowner is doing a monthly payment, typically that payment applies to the loan, and then the payments stay down. But in reality, the federal tax credit, it's the homeowner's money. So they could take that and buy a car. They could go on vacation with it. They could do an addition to their home if they wanted to. It's their money. But most of the folks, we would suggest, pay the solar system off with that federal tax credit. But again, they could do what they want. And then you have, the states have different, credits and whatnot that comes off of that investment. So backing up to the tax equation. So straight purchase or a monthly payment. And then hopefully, the homeowner has a tax appetite and will get that 30% federal tax credit. If they simply do not, they're not paying taxes anymore, they don't have the ability to get that, and they still want to go solar, then at that point, we may suggest a lease or a power purchase agreement. And both of those situations, the homeowner will not own the system, but they will get the benefit of the solar, of reducing their costs down and be able to flatline their energy costs for the rest of their lives. The installing company actually gets the federal tax credit. In that case, the leasing company, gets that federal tax credit. And then the homeowner, in that case, would not with a lease or a power purchase agreement. So I have the ability to do all four. I'm certified to do all four. But for the most part, probably probably even more than 95% of the time, I'm doing that purchase, that monthly payment. So the intention is that the homeowner will own the system that that's on their roof. So if it's a monthly payment, Carlos, I mean that's the bill swap, right? I mean, so basically the homeowner stops paying a utility bill that they have no control over, the cost increasing. You can't budget for it. I mean, how do you budget for a utility bill? Right. I'm paying $300, $400, $500 now, but it could be $1,000 next month. You don't know. And so if a solar payment will remain fixed the entire time, so you can budget for it. And again, when it's paid off, it stops. Go ahead.
The financing period, whether it's 7 years or 10 years, I'm not sure. It's based on the consumption, like how much power they want to offset. You want the payment of the solar panels to be similar to what your payment on the electricity is, right? To your electric bill. So let's say it's, I don't know, $200 a month on average. Then am I going to structure the loan and then the months of, the payment plan, the number of years based on a $200 monthly payment, or is it always a fixed number of years, like 7 years, 10 years? How is the loan structure a little bit? I'm just kind of curious to know how long will take a homeowner, because that's basically my next question. It says, how long will it take to recover the cost of the solar panels and through the savings of the energy? I'm hoping I'm making clear on the question.
Yeah, you're clear. You're clear, and I got it. I understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah. So I mean, typically what I'm doing is I'm when I present to a homeowner, I'm presenting, number one, a straight purchase, and I'm presenting a monthly payment option as well. I've got 150 different loan options, to use.
Okay.
We got the three top lenders. I represent, Good Leap. I represent Sunlight. I represent Mosaic. That's the three giants in the solar industry. Power represents all three. Like one of the lowest loans that I have right now is it's a 499. It's a 25-year loan from Good Leap. And so typically that's what we'll do. And so if the payment is the same or slightly less, and if we're able to apply credits that in fact the utility companies in Texas, each one of them has credits that they provide back to the homeowner. So those credits that they would provide back would actually offset and reduce the monthly payments for the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
in other words, if the solar bill is exactly 200 and you're currently spending 200 for utilities, but with the incentive from the utility company, I can bring that bill down to 150 or 125 a month. Then what I suggest to the homeowner is, you're used to paying $200 a month. Continue to pay that 200, and that 25-year loan will be now knocked down to 14 years or 15 years. And so, and that's all well and fine. But if you look at the alternative, you'll never pay off the utility company. So right now the homeowners say, what's the option? So a lot of times I say to myself, or I say to the homeowner, listen, I'm really not selling solar. You decide for yourself whether you think it makes sense. Either you stay on the grid and you pay for the rest of your lives. And the fellow that I was presenting to earlier today, he had a rather heavy bill. He's spending $700 a month. The prediction of what his energy was going to be was $400,000 after 25 years. He's going to spend 400 grand. So it's insane if you think about that, right? And who knows? I mean, with the way energy costs are increasing, that could easily be twice that. Solar flatlines it. So it completely takes the sting out of that. And so, yeah, I mean, great question, Carlos. I hope I'm adding some value and homeowners are understanding it a little bit better.
I think they are. I think they are listening to you, and I think your answers are going to clarify. I know they have clarified a lot of my questions personally, but as a realtor, as a real estate agent, my concern is. I think solar panel is great. Honestly, I think is something neat to have in our homes. I mean, you have a constant payment. You don't have to, depend on a third party on the grid and all that. At one point, here in Texas, there was a freeze. A couple of years ago, there was a freeze. And some of the people were on these variable plans, not on a fixed rate plan on the electric providers. And I was browsing through social media, and they were complaining, a lot of complainers, people complaining about their monthly payment just shoot up through the roof because there was a big story about it, and the governor was also involved in this, and just. I was lucky. I had a fixed plan, and my payment didn't change. I didn't see any. I actually saw a less payment because we were without power for so many days that they didn't actually charge me for those days. So I actually paid less. But other people, the very few days that they used it, they had to come up with a hefty amount for the electricity bill. But I guess. So I do see the benefits. As a real estate agent, though, I have to think about, the process of selling a home. And like I said, I'm actually meeting with a client this weekend, and she just installed solar panels last month. That's what she said. She just installed solar panels last month. So I'm coming here to this appointment, and she's wanting to sell the home. What options would she have? I mean, I talked to other people, and some companies, I think they offer, like, you can take the solar panels and take them to the new house. I don't know what the expense is for something like that, but what options do they really have? Now she has this mortgage or this loan, for, you know, let's say $30,000, and she still needs to pay, if she ends up selling the home, she'll have to pay that balance off. She'll have to pay that off, because from financing options for the buyer, I do see a little bit of an issue there, because they're qualifying to buy a home. They will have to, I don't know if they can just take over the payments. If that's the case, they will have to qualify for that as well. And many buyers are not, I mean, interest rates are so high already that just qualifying for the home is a challenge right now. So adding an extra payment for the solar panels is probably not doable for the buyer. So as a seller, I guess, yeah, you want to sell the home, but now you have to pay off the loan amount. Unless, can they really take those solar panels and take them off there and install them in the new home if they're doing something like that?
No, I'd be like, no. You really would.
Okay.
Be like, I don't know, taking the roof with you, or, you know, taking the swimming pool with you when you moved. Just
all
no.
Right. So it's not something that's
it's part of the home. No, you're going to install solar, and that home, that's a smart home. It's going to produce its own power. You know, so what's going to happen is, I mean, homeowners, you know, I get that. I mean, so I have a pool in my backyard, and I remember, you know, when I first went to do that, I got some friends in real estate, and they're saying, Greg, you know, be careful, because you won't be able to sell your house if you have the pool. You'll have to fill it in, and well, it's not necessarily true. I mean, people are going to be looking for a house that has a pool, right? And maybe I don't have as many folks across the board to qualify for that, or as many that are interested, but folks will be looking for a home that has a pool. So as this becomes more and more mainstream, folks are going to be looking for smart houses. So if there's two houses on the market, Carlos, and they're very similar, but one produces its own power and one doesn't, the one that doesn't clearly is at a disadvantage, because the homeowner has no control over the cost that they buy into that house. It's just going to continue to climb, and there's no ceiling to that. But so to get back to your scenario with this particular homeowner, first off, the solar does add value to the home instantly. It adds about a 4 to 6% value to the home. So her home has appreciated in value when she added the solar system, maybe by $30,000 is what she invested approximately. It will help to sell typically through the NREL, for the National Renewable Energy Lab, has studies and reports out there, and they typically say that a home with solar will sell 20% faster if folks are looking for this smart home. That type of thing. So the statistics are coming, and they just keep getting better and better and better as this thing becomes more mainstream. So one of two things. If the homeowners, let's just use a scenario. So her home was a $200,000 home. It's now valued at $230,000. So she's selling the house for $230 now, not $200. Right. So it's either she cashes out, gets extra value for the solar system she has on the house. When she sells the home, if she can take the proceeds and pay that loan off, and then the house is sold, as a smart home producing its own power. Or the converse of that is the homeowner that's coming into the home can very easily assume that loan, that monthly payment, as long as they're not upside down in terms of what their credit score, but their
qualifications,
right? Yeah, qualifications. Right. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking for. You're a professional. You know that, right? Help me out there.
It's called the debt to income ratio, basically. Yeah,
there you go.
That's what that is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They just got to stay within the guidelines for them to approve to get qualified. Yeah.
So that's typically how it's worked out, and so it's not a lease. There's not a third party at the table. It's no different than having a mortgage on the house when she's going to sell the house, So it's the exact same scenario. That's typically how it's handled, and it will just, again, it's going to continue to be more and more mainstream.
Right, and it's becoming more popular. Solar panels. Again, I do see those more and more coming in my neighborhood. The question here is, like you said, that particular buyer is looking for a home efficient, right? A solar panel home with solar panels, just like they're looking for an electric car, and just like they're looking for homes with swimming pools. There is a specific market for those buyers. Your typical buyer, the question here is, will your typical buyer be willing to pay that additional $30,000 to have the solar panels? That would be the question, right? And we don't know that. It depends on the it depends on the home, it depends on the buyer, the purchaser. But typically, I will assume, well, they're willing. I mean, it's you have two homes, like you mentioned. One has solar panels, the other one doesn't. Man, I'm 100% over the one with the solar panels, right? I mean, that's the one I want. And I had several buyers purchase homes with solar panels, and they're all paid off at closing. So that's yay for my buyers, right? They're obtaining a home, they're buying a home with solar panels. That's great. And the feedback that I get from my clients is like, they're super happy, right? That's super happy. Now, would those same buyers be willing to pay an additional, I don't know, $10,000? Probably. Will they be willing to pay an additional $20,000, $30,000? That's kind of where that's where I don't know, right? That's I know my buyers are typically not looking for homes with solar panels, because again, it's only a small percentage of homes have solar panels. It's not something that they're looking for, but when they do see one, and it's about the same price or very close to the other ones that don't have it, then they really like it, right? So I do see a benefit. It definitely, agree with you 100%. It's definitely going to help sell the home faster, for sure. It's definitely going to help it, because there's nothing negative about it. It's just, my concern is, typically those sellers might want to increase the sales price, and that's when the buyer might not be willing to pay for that difference for the solar panels. I don't know, but I think it's very specific, case by case. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think as this thing continues to play out and becomes more and more mainstream, like I said, they're saying statistically in the next 5 years, 1 in every 3 homes is going solar. So it's just going to become more and more and more mainstream. When it hits a 15% saturation rate, then it's going viral. So I mean, it just makes sense. It's the cheapest form of energy in the world. You stop the bleeding. I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is to stay on the grid and just pay through the nose for the rest of your lives. And it's staggering the kind of money that you're paying with zero, no predictability. So I'll just tell for your readers and listeners, the folks that in Massachusetts and Connecticut, their rates doubled on January the 5th, doubled overnight. So that's the kind of things that are going on right now. You've got rates up 30 some percent in Florida. They're up 30 some percent in Pennsylvania. They're up 22% in Maryland right now. It's supposed to increase 4% per year, not 100% overnight. So that's what's going on. And so as this becomes more and more mainstream again, and a homeowner comes to that, they're educated now, and they go, well, wait a minute, I'm going to buy this home. They don't have solar, and I'm going to pay how much for power the next 15, 25 years? I'm going to spend an extra $200,000 or $300,000 more for this house versus that one that has solar. And so I mean, right now and that's kind of where we are. And so as soon as I explain to the homeowners today, here's the scenario, here's what's at stake, they typically go, Craig, that makes so much sense. I mean, I really appreciate you explaining that to me now, because they just don't understand. And the reason they don't understand is because we've never had this before. Not that solar's never been around for the last 30, 40 years, but I'm talking about is the mindset, that we can buy our power systems just like we buy our home, just like we buy our cars, and stop the bleeding.
Right.
I think it is shakeout, Carlos. It truly is.
Yeah, and I do believe in having a consistent payment. When you're leasing a home, basically, you're leasing a house, you're buying a house. Your mortgage is going to stay fixed. At least the principal and interest is going to stay fixed for 30 years, right? Yeah, taxes and insurance, will go up more than likely, but at least your principal and interest will stay fixed. You're leasing a house, you're renting a house, I mean, what's inflation doing right now? You know, everything is going up in price. So even leases, even rents are going up. So I mean, everything is going up. Everything, food, and you know, everything. So you know, you're more likely, like you said, you know, that electricity bill is going to go up next year or the year after. You know, it has only one place to go, and that's
Right.
up, right?
Right.
Where you finance solar panels, let's say for 15 years, 15, 20 years, at least you know that basically, if it's the same as the electricity bill, then at least you know your electricity bill, which is not really your electricity bill anymore, is your solar panel bill. But at least
Right.
you know that that is fixed for 20 years, right? And then
Right.
once you're done with that, then it goes to zero, I guess. So you're basically at that point you're saving money. But in the meantime, you're just kind of breaking even, and you're protecting yourself from that inflation of the utilities going up. So I do see the benefit of that. It's just what stresses me a little bit as a real estate agent is, you know, when it comes to the transaction and the seller has to sell a home that has solar panels and they're not paid off. Okay. The question is, how much do we increase the value of the home? How much do we increase the price of the home? How much is a typical buyer in this market going to be willing to pay for that? And that's where I come in, and I have to sit down with, you know, with the owners and talk about it and see what the plan is. So that is the only concern I have about solar panels for somebody that is wanting to sell a home. Now, you know, selling a home or buying a home is a long-term investment, right? You're not buying a home thinking that you're going to sell it next year or thinking that you're going to sell it in 2-3 years, right? That your typical homeowner will stay in the home. I know the numbers have this, but it used to be like, you know, 7 years, and then now I heard like 10 to 12 years. You know, now they're staying in place a little bit longer because of the market conditions. So people are staying longer in their homes, building more and more equity. So when you're buying a house, I'm telling my clients, I mean, are you planning on selling it in 5 years? If you're not, then I mean, it's a good investment. If you're gonna call me next year, Carlos, help me sell the home, then we probably have a right. You're probably gonna lose money because you just bought it last year. Same thing with the solar panels, I think. You know, you're installing solar panels thinking that, hey, this is a house where at least I'm gonna be here for the next few years, you know, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, where you can really take advantage of the savings and actually build some equity on the solar panel side, right? Where that balance is coming down. And then when you sell it, you're definitely going to make some money because now you have solar panels there. But somebody that's, you know, having to sell within a few years, that's kind of where my concern is, right? You're probably not gonna. It was probably not a good move if you're thinking about selling, you know, anytime soon. So, is that something? Some of the conversations that you have with the typical homeowner? Do you ask, you know, how long are you planning to stay in the home, or you know, that type of questions that you have with them?
You know, so I mean, I hear exactly what you're saying, and I I can't deny that you know, certainly you've got a point. It's, you know, somewhat valid, but by the same token, I just think that, you know, folks are investing in this because it adds value to the home. When they go to sell the home, they could sell it faster because they'll be looking to sell a home that is a smart home. So you know, I just think as this continues to play out, I mean, that they're going to be, what I would say, more of a mute point, right? I understand where you're coming from. I truly do, but I just think it's going to play out. It's going to solve itself. You know, so no,
Do you
don't.
see the solar panel prices coming down a little bit? Is that something that you see in the near future?
So
To for the
yes,
solar
I mean,
panels to keep
the
coming down?
investments have certainly come down. Like I said, I mean, basically the investment in solar is about the same of exactly what, you know, homeowners paying for power, and slightly less right now. So
Okay,
that's why I'm saying, you know, we're
with the credits, right?
we're on the cusp of going viral. We really truly are, because that's
Okay,
the cost have come down to that point now. You know,
okay.
so that in itself, with the incentives and the EVs and the high, you know, energy rates, all this all add up to, you know, make this perfect storm. Let me digress for a minute here in terms of the age groups of folks that I think might be, you know, really appropriate for this. Because when I originally got into this, Carlos, my intention or thought process was, well, gee, it's going to make the best sense for a younger family with perhaps younger children. They're going to be in the house longer, you know, so they're going to go for a longer loan. And I don't know, by the time they're my age, for instance, the solar panel would be paid off, and they're off to the races at that point. But there's something to be said for folks that are, I'm 58 years old, let's say a 60-year-old person, that they were to invest in solar now, because when they're 80 years old and they're on a fixed budget and they're no longer working is when they're really going to need, you know, to not have that huge expense in their lives. And so when that solar system is paid off, just like their mortgage is paid off, they're not going to have a mortgage anymore to be concerned with. They're not going to have those high energy bills to be paying anymore. That's when it really makes the most sense, you know. So I think it makes across the board, which is the reason why this thing is just playing out so well, that it, regardless of the age group of the homeowner, it just makes sense. And in some respects, I think it makes even more sense for the older couples, you know, to really do this, because again, as they get older, man, wouldn't that be nice? They would no longer have to worry about a power bill. And so something else to bring to your attention, the 30-year warranty that we place on the power system for the homeowner, that is transferable. You know, so you know, so if the young lady that you're talking, you want to see this weekend that, you know, has solar, if she had a power 30-year warranty, that 30-year warranty would be transferable to the new homeowner coming in. You know, so they would get you get the benefits of that, you know, no labor, no hardware costs, no roof leaks for 30 years. That's awesome. You know, so that plays out pretty well. Yeah.
All right, Craig, we have reached the end of the live. Thank you so much, Craig. I mean, you dropped a lot of the information to us. So I really hope the viewers saw the benefit on this, and maybe you got a lot of the questions answered. Hopefully, you know, you start getting some calls. I will put your contact information here one more time. If you have any questions about solar panels, please make sure that you reach out to Craig Bloom. As you can see, he knows his stuff. He knows everything about solar panels. You are the pro on this, and I really appreciate you being on the live. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. You know, maybe in the near future I'll be installing solar panels on my home. So I'll be reaching out to you for that. So we'll see. I still, you know, last time we spoke, I did share that I do like that. You know, on the cars, basically, you know, my cars to be making a lot of noise when you turn them on. So that still puts a smile on my face. So, but I do like the electric cars as well a lot. They're quick,
right?
And I know. And you know, and all these cars that I'm a fan of, you know, the Corvettes and all that. You know, here comes this, you know, little Tesla, and it just blows the car away. So I'm definitely, you know, that's I'm impressed by the electric cars. Definitely, it's but you know, we'll see how that plays out. But again, Craig, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Carlos, thank you. Honored. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. See you, everybody.
See you. Bye.
Have a good night.